Hello my friends, William Poloniak here from Whole Health Foundation. In this video I'm going to show you what to do if your piston is not performing properly, and the tools you're going to need are two rubber gloves, a 7/16 socket and socket wrench, and a roll of paper towels. So the first thing we're going to do is loosen the 6 bolts in the top. The next thing we're going to do is take out all the screws in the top and set them aside. And then with your thumb you're going to push on the piston as you pull this out, and then remove the top and set it aside. And the next step, put your finger in the piston. Let's make sure the piston is removed from the bottom of the reservoir, and then put your finger in the piston, lift both the reservoir and the piston out into a container. I use these used yogurt containers. Your next step is going to be to remove the cylinder and set that aside and inspect the piston. Now you'll see this piston is in very poor shape. It's dirty, and that's an indication the fluid needs to be changed. Now the next thing you want to check is the piston shaft. Is it screwed in to the bottom of the piston all the way? And it looks like it is. So we're just going to clean this off. We're going to remove the oil and replace the spring. Now what we're going to do in this juicer is we're going to remove the spring and inspect it. And to do that, I need a couple of tools. And we're just going to pry this spring out of here. And as you can see, it's a defective spring. So we're going to put a new one in there. Now there are three things you should check on a piston. One is to clean the inside where the press plate fits. And the second thing is with 600 grit sandpaper. Clean up some 600 grit sandpaper here, and we're going to sand off that corrosion. Clean that up. Take a piece of paper towel, polish that. And you want to check the O-ring on the bottom, which may or may not need to be replaced. Usually it's good, but it's not a bad idea to replace it. I've already put the spring in. The piston goes in the bottom and the small end. We're going to set that aside and we're going to change the fluid. The next step is going to be to remove the O-ring in the bottom of the reservoir, and I use a dental pick to get that out. You could use a bent safety pin, anything you can to get the bottom O-ring out, because you want to inspect that, make sure there's no cracks or tears. This one looks pretty good, so we can probably reuse this one. And if you have an O-ring kit, you can put a new one in if you want. And we'll set that aside and continue to clean the inside of the reservoir to get all the oil out, all of the dirty oil out. And one thing you want to do is plug the juicer in and run it for about a half to 1 second to purge the pump of dirty oil. And I'm going to do that now. First I'll plug in the juicer. And then what I've done is I've enabled the switch to work without the feed tube on, and in another video I show you how to do that. So I'll turn it on for about 1, maybe 2 seconds. Take some paper towels and soak up the remainder of that dirty fluid that was in the pump. Yes, and looks like it was pretty dirty. I'm going to purge the pump one more time Make sure I got all of the oil out of the pump, because when I get new oil in there, I don't want the dirty oil in the pump to mix with the fresh oil. So we'll purge the pump one more time. Very little oil came out that time. So we'll take another paper towel, go down in there and soak up the rest of that dirty fluid that came out of the pump. And then I'll clean the O-ring one more time and put it back in. The next step is to take the piston in the chamber, and with your finger in the piston, put it in the chamber, and then fill it with new fluid to about 1/2 inch from the top. So we have new red hydraulic fluid here, automatic transmission hydraulic fluid. In the newer models you use the red transmission fluid. In the older 265 and below, you can upgrade to transmission fluid, or you can use the regular jack fluid. Fill it to about 1/2 inch from the top. Normally it's 3/4 inch, but since we purged the pump, we'll make it 1/2 inch. This next step is very important. What we're going to do is take the top and seat the top of the piston chamber in that middle slot, and then push down as you're looking for the piston, and then center it through the hole and push down as much as you can. And then with a block of wood that's 4 3/8 inch long, you're going to put that in there to assist you, because holding the spring down is going to be very, very challenging, as you can see. So while I'm holding it down, I'm slipping in this block of wood. There we go. Now we can put in the bolts. So next we tighten these bolts down by hand first. And we tighten down the rest of the bolts. And once you have 2 of them tightened down, you won't need the block anymore. The block of wood you can just remove. And then finally you want to tighten these down. You can tighten them by hand, but I'm going to use a torque wrench. You don't want to tighten them too much because it's only aluminum, and if you go too much you're going to strip the aluminum threads. So I'm going to tighten these down by hand. And then what I'm going to do is use an inch-pound torque wrench. What I have here is an inch-pound torque wrench. If you use a regular torque wrench, it's going to be 3 pounds pressure. This one is going to be 75 inch-pounds. Looks like tightening by hand was perfect. There we go. Now next is to test it. We'll turn the lever up, turn on the machine. There it is at the top, and going down all the way. Perfect. There you have it, my friends. If you'd like to contact me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and you can go to my website to order a new juicer or parts or supplies, wholehealthfound.com. See you in the next video.